wineries are a bit different than they used to be. It used to be you could sort of drop into any winery, have some tastes of wine for free, and see their beautiful properties, hang out for a while, buy some wine if you want to. But it's not that way anymore, especially since COVID. Tastings are
Mhm.
pretty expensive. Like you'll pay $45 for just tastings to go to a winery and they will allow you to sit there and taste their wines.
Yeah.
But if you pick a few places and also pick events, wineries throw a lot of events. So there might be a comedy show, there might be live music, they'll have specific festivals at wineries. So that's kind of how I like to touch into the wineries is go on a specific
Mhm.
event day. Otherwise, it's really quite, I mean, if I was a tourist, fine, I'll spend $45 to go taste wine. But as a local, I wouldn't do that because it's
Yeah.
just too much.
When they're on your doorstep and you can probably
Yeah,
taste their wine
exactly.
in another bar. Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. And I mean, you're also preparing for the experience of being there on the stunning grounds, in the
Right.
countryside too. But
Yes, and they
that's
are
a great tip to go.
beautiful. They're so
Yeah,
diverse. There's just everything imaginable. I have some slides later that I'll show about that. They're fun
great,
places.
great. Yeah. And is there any one or two that you would definitely recommend that stand out to you, or?
Well, just across the street from us is St. Francis Winery, which is beautiful grounds, and they're just lovely people. So that's a really nice one to visit.
Mhm.
Um, we belong to a group called Wilson Wine Group, and they have like, 10 or 11 different wineries. So anything within the Wilson Wine Group, which is St. Anne's and Rockpile, and can't even think of all the other ones right now, but that's a good group to visit with.
Yeah,
Gosh,
amazing.
there's a lot.
Yeah, you're not short of them anyways. Um, And then you were talking a little bit about the city of Sonoma and the kind of um, historical tours that you can do there or monuments there. Is there anything else you can share on that? I don't know if you know any interesting stories or interesting things that someone might find when they arrive.
Well, like I said, Sonoma, it was the site of a revolt. It was the
Mhm.
Americans coming in and trying to take over from the Mexican government. You can visit General Vallejo, that was the Mexican governor that was there. You can visit his home. You can visit the barracks where his soldiers were housed. There are old theater from the 1800s that's still there. A big plaza that's always got something going on. That's really fun. That's Sonoma. There's other historic sites. Did you want to know about some other ones?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
One of the really cool ones is there's a historic lumber mill. It's over toward the redwoods, toward the coast, and 4 times a year they fire up all this old equipment and actually show you how they used to do the lumbering in the old days. And they have docents that explain the history, and it's beautiful property. There's gardens and lovely big trees. That's really fun to go visit as well as far as
Yeah,
historic
yeah.
sites.
Yeah, I guess you're getting two for one there. You know, you're going into the redwoods, but you're also seeing
Yeah,
the history there, which is really, really cool. I
exactly.
like that a lot. I like when you can combine kind of two things together and you feel like you're getting a lot out
Yeah.
of the limited time that you have.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah. Um, so then you said previously that you can kind of get everywhere in around an hour. Is that by car? Like, do you think that it's important for someone visiting to rent a car, or what's the best way to get around?
Definitely car. We do have buses in our city, which I've never taken, but they have routes that they go within the city. But I don't think the buses would take you out to all the beautiful out of the way spaces like the Russian River area, the coast, up more north towards Geyserville. I don't think the buses go there. So if you want to get to the
Hmm.
beautiful out of the way places, you really need a car.
Okay, yeah. And then to get to Sonoma County itself, you would fly. Well, it depends if you're, I don't know if you're in California, if you're coming from there, maybe you drive, but would you fly to an airport in San Francisco, or what would be the best way?
Definitely San Francisco, 1 hour north of San Francisco, although it's 2 hours to get to the airport, even though we're 1 hour north of San Francisco, but you have to get across traffic in San Francisco to get to the airport.
Okay, yeah. And California traffic is that's another thing that you guys are famous for, not just
Not so bad
wineries
here
and
in
sunny
Sonoma
days.
County, but yeah, we're considered the North
Okay,
Bay, which means north of San Francisco Bay. Well, San Francisco Bay, the traffic is horrid, but Sonoma
right.
County's not that bad.
Yeah, amazing.
And this is a diversity of our parks. We have parks set in the hills and oak woodlands. We have parks set on the coast. I mean, it's a beautiful coastline. There are no cities along there. There's just a couple of two small towns, Bodega Bay and Jenner, very tiny little places. You couldn't even almost call them towns. So it's really a beautiful drive to just go from one to the other along the coast. And there's beaches and hikes, and it's lovely.
Wow.
Um,
And
the one on
sorry, we
on
actually
the
go ahead.
what's going on? The one on the bottom left, that's just across the street from me. That's Sugarloaf Mountain. Um, we have a lot of parks really close along our highway here, Highway 12, which is called the Valley of the Moon. Hood Mountain, Sugarloaf Ridge, Montini Preserve. We have 60-ish plus parks.
Wow.
And of course, it will only be green like this in the winter time, not in the summer. In the summer, it'll be more brown.
It's scorched more. Yeah, look, I mean, looking at these photos, you could tell me that that's Ireland, and I would absolutely believe you. It's so green, and with the cliffs as well. It's that's incredible. But when you sent it to me before, I was shocked. We got a question in the chat from John, and he was wondering if there are any off-highway bike paths. I don't know if you know if there are. Or...
I'm sure there are, because biking is very big here, but I'm not a biker, so I can't tell you anything specifically.
I'll jump in, and I won't say specific routes, John, but I will say that there won't actually be routes specifically for bikes. It will be bikers will be on the road, but you can cycle not on the highway. So it's a huge area for cycling. Let's just say that I worked at wineries for 15 years in this region, and every day as I drove to work to the wineries along the smaller roads, there were bikers in front of me every single day. So people love to cycle this area, both Marin County, which is north of Sonoma County, between San Francisco and Sonoma County are huge because it's just such a gorgeous place to cycle, but you will be on the road with cars. There's a couple exceptions if you want to go to a park and actually be in a park and do like more mountain biking. And there's a huge park called Annandale in Rosa, which is part of Sonoma County, and then you'll get mountain bikers that are on their trails and then hikers that are on their trails. But with the exception of that, you'd really just find bikers and
Great, thanks, Brooke.
All right, go to the next
Yeah,
slide
okay.
here.
Do you want to move on to the next one?
All right. It's a very active social area, and regardless of your age, you'll find people to meet up with, go on hikes, go kayaking. It's just a really friendly area. So I think anybody who drops in here would find friendly people.
And these are photos, I presume, along some of the routes that you've done. I'm
Yes,
not sure how
the one on the
recently.
bottom right is just a couple of miles down the road from me. It's a conglomeration of three parks. It's kind of cool. There's a city park called Howarth. There's a regional park called Spring Lake, and then there's Annandale State Park, and they all three back up to each other. So literally you can go
Oh,
through
wow.
all three parks at the same time. There are three lakes, there's kayaking, there's a lagoon for dogs to swim in, there's picnic areas, there's hiking trails that are paved, hiking trails that are dirt. Mostly oak woodlands, not so much redwoods in this area, but it's really, really nice.
Wow, yeah, they're stunning, and the coastline there is. Are there routes that you can do that kind of follow around the coastline, or?
Highway 1, that's it. You'll take
Okay.
Highway 1, and that is it. And you'll get stuck on that, and it's very windy and big drop-offs on the cliffs, but it's gorgeous.
It's worth
It's worth
the
it, yes.
stare. Yeah, it's worth the nose when you walk a little bit closer to the edge. And yeah, I mean they're absolutely stunning.
So these are some of our historic areas. The top two photos and the bottom right photo are all from Sonoma State Historic Park, which I told you about. So there's a lot of Spanish style buildings there, older buildings. You know, when I say older, that's relative to you people in Europe where everything is much more ancient, but for us, this is old. And then
How old are we talking?
the bottom left is a place that's a little further up Highway 1 on one of those horrible cliff roads called Fort Ross, and you can go visit the fort. It's one of the historic sites that we have. There's also a winery near there. And so that is another cool historic site to visit. And feel free,
Great.
anybody, to
Yeah.
contact me if you have other questions.
Yeah, of course, guys, use the community portal, send a few messages if you have any other questions that you didn't get around to asking this time. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.